Okay, I'm going to use Datacap Insight Edition to build a demonstration around what we would call cognitive capture, the ability to extract text from unstructured documents and glean very interesting insights into your unstructured documents. First off, this uses Alchemy API, and you'll have to get a key for that. So you first open up Bluemix, and that would be here. This is my Bluemix panel. I've instantiated a service here. Really just create a service. You go and find Alchemy API, start the service. I would just search for ALCHEMY, and there's Alchemy, and you go and you start. You can only have one of these. I'm going to create one right here, but once it's running on that console, you'll have the ability to click here on the actual instance of that, and then get the service credentials out of that as well. And I'll change this. I'll delete this one right when I'm done, so these credentials will no longer be valid. But I'll view the credentials here and get that URL and key out of this document and use that to set up my demonstration. So that's where we're going to start now. First things first, I got to jump over to Datacap and create a new application. Okay, I'm going to use one of these consultation reports. These come off of a free site of medical transcription data. It's not real data, but I'm just going to use one of these to get some data off of this document. It's an unstructured form. It's a PDF. It's a couple pages. First things first, we have to create an application around this. Do this all the time. Start with, as I always do, start with FastDoc admin and log into the system to get the wizard. I'm going to create a new application, and this one's going to be called transcription. And I'm going to use standard form template. Click next. I don't need any of this. I'm not going to create any document hierarchy here. I'll use the tools to do that. Click finish, and I'll explore the application folder once it's done. Say close, and there it is. So I'm going to open the application by restarting FastDoc admin, go and find my transcriptions application, and say admin. Now I'm going to have a really simple page ID in this. Here's my workflow here, vscan, page ID, my identified pages. I'm going to do something really simple. I'm going to turn off fingerprints. I have to create my pages first, so let me create a page type called field, document type called transcript, and I'll enable the inheritance from document. Never change the document, never change the default page type. I'll say add page transcript main, enable inheritance from page, add another page called type called transcript trailing. So what that is, I'm going to add one or two fields. I'll add a field called patient name and another field called, there's no inheritance on fields. On the page ID, identify pages. I do this at the batch level. So choose the page source location as my main identifier for the page identification, and the first page will always be main, the trailing will be trailing. So this will say, oh, they're from this PDF, the first one is main, second ones are trailing. Make sure it knows that we have a minimum of one and a maximum of one main document, and the trailing we have a minimum of infinite, and it'll always be the second document or after the main page. Save that, come back. I think that's it for this section of it. Yeah, the rest of it will have to be done in Datacap Studio. So we're going to build a rule set around our Alchemy API to get this data. Start Datacap Studio, find my application called transcriptions, and let's create a new rule set around this. Let's create two rule sets here. One to create the layout and another one to get the actual data off of this. So you have to do two kinds of things. There's some new recognized actions that you have to use in this case. So I'll create a new rule set here, and this one's going to be for creating the layout. This is what you have to do first things first before you can do any of this insight stuff. Create layout, and you're going to create a second file in the batch directory that's going to hold all this XML data. Or create layout. I never leave a generic name for my functions, because that's what I search for in the logs. F create layout, and they have to be unique, otherwise I can't identify between the rule sets or that is, now, there's some new actions in OCRS called just this pure recognize. So this recognize event will create the layout, the OCRS structure around that document. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to actually have it run on documents of the type that I'm specifying, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, I could do all the pages, but I'm just going to do the first page on these. I'm going to say pages of type transcript main. So I'm going to run that on those type of pages, and I'm going to do it during the profiler event, so the profiler task, and add that to here. I can do it after the traditional recognize, before the validate, of course. That'd be the best place to do it, because that's where I'm going to get my fields, and I do my validation after that. So that's going to run right there. The next step is I need one more thing. The next thing is I need one more rule set to actually do the insight data to analyze the document using either Big Insights or System T. So this one's going to be analyze layout. Now, these actions are in, there's a couple different places they're in. The first one I need to do is this analyze layout. They're part of document analytics here. So there's analyze layout. I'll add that. I also need to say create the CCO from the layout, and that's in different locations. There were a couple of different people I think worked on this and created different parts, and they just needed to combine them, but they didn't. This create CCO from layout. You can read about what these do. It just creates a CCO file after the recognition. So this is where a lot of the internal data is going to be stored. You're never going to look at it, but it's where a lot of the actions are going to go to get the information out of that document. I'm going to also say in these document analytics, I'm going to tell it to create an HTML document that's just for better view into it. I'm going to extract text log enable, and I'm going to give it a location. I'm just going to put this in the Datacap directory. This can be handy if there's problems and things like that. So you go on /Datacap extract.log. There's that. And next one is extract text. And this one uses Big Insights that's built into Datacap. So it'll just run as part of Rule Runner, and the other one is use Alchemy to extract and bring it down. So the extract text here, I'm going to tell it what kind of stuff that I want it to extract. And you can do the info on this, and it has a list of all the different views and pieces of data. And you can also build your own extractors. It's a different piece than what I'm showing you here, and that'll be a whole different video, but you can create your own extractors here. In this case, I'm going to just type a bunch of them in. I already know what they are. And I'm going to use things like address, person, date, time, date, time, email address, phone number, or organization, and that's enough. From Alchemy, I'm going to have it return keyword, entities, the doc sentiment, and doc emotion. Those are things. There's other ones you can get from Alchemy as well, and the list is in that help file. And the last thing is I want to create fields around all of that data. That was in the DCO. It's just a standard event. Once it's done all of that, I can say create fields, and it'll create a bunch of fields around that actual data. So there it is. That's all you really have to do to create this nice XML file. Once we're not identifying the documents here, we could use the content classification, which I have another video for, show you how to set that up. Once you identify the documents, that's kind of a piece of curation, so which is really important for creating content analytics and data lakes and data mines and things like that. So you really want to have a good system for doing that curation. And this can be your lead-in to doing that. And then the analyze layout is going to go and do all the analysis on the data on the document. And once we've gotten the information off, done what we call, or identified the type, done the curation, we can now send the data off to our data lake. We can also get information out of it for our traditional capture as well, but this is the main point of what we're using this for. I will publish that rule set, and I also want to just test this to make sure it's working, to show you once we have the XML file. That's kind of where we're going to stop, or I might get some data out of it, I'll show you the extraction stuff as well. I don't want this to go to verify yet because I'm going to be testing it with Datacap Studio, so I'm going to lock this rule set. I'm going to lock this rule set and then disable the split batch so it won't go to verify. So now I can run it in test. I have to go back and get my file here, which is one of these consultations. I'll copy it. And I'll go back to my application and put it into the multi-format drive here. Paste. Never open up this PDF file in this folder because Acrobat will lock it down and Datacap will cause trouble on the vScan. So back to Datacap Studio, run the test tab, drop down to my multi-scan format, click new, choose my multi-format, which will be the right directory, and go and get the file in the right location. Now it's going to read that in, convert the 3 files. We should see them, then be able to convert them to the right page ID. So there it is. I got my 3 files out of it. I'll advance at the next step, go through page ID. It should identify them as the proper page. I have one document with 3 pages now. If that wasn't the case and there were still other, I would say keep running and run it over and over again, but I'll show you how that works. So in this case, it worked. It became a transcript doc. I'm going to click advance. Now, one thing I realized I didn't do is we didn't set up the Alchemy key, so I have to do that next. So in order to do that, I have to run the Datacap Application Manager, find my application here, which is transcriptions, go to the custom values, and I need to add a new value. The first one is the Alchemy URL. I'll put the URL in there. We're going to go find that again. Here it is. Put the value in there. And the next one is we need to have that key in there. The key is going to be encrypted in our system. I'm going to add a new variable and call it Alchemy API key. Now, I can go and get, I can't type that in there, so I'll create a quick text file here so I can see it behind me, and I'll type that big value in. Okay, I have the whole key typed in now, and I will save my changes, and now the application should work. Back to Datacap Studio, it's ready to run Profiler. I will click Run. I'll keep running to see if it actually did what I needed to, and the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go into my batch directory. I'm going to go into my batch directory and look and see if that layout file exists. So there's this layout file. I'm going to go into that and take a look at it. Here, all the blocks are done. At the beginning, Insight Edition, that analyze layout actually breaks the whole document into blocks. These are really good because typically all your text is just one line over another, and there might be sections in the document, and this breaks them up. But even this for your analytics engine for your data lake has tons of information about which keys are which confidence there is, where they're located on the page. All that data is there. If I scroll down, it does not look like Alchemy ran. So I'll go and look at the log as to why that didn't run. And that log would be here under profiler.log. And what did I call my action? Remember I said I'd name them nicely so I can always come back and look for them. Analyze layout. Fanalyze. So I could simply look for fanalyze and go and find it. And so it didn't actually run. So it's not listed there. So the action didn't run. So I either have not connected it right or I've not put it in my task profile. And there it is. I didn't put it in my task profile. So quick little addition back into the task profile. And right after the create layout, I'll save that, unlock it. I want to make sure one more thing. Did I connect this up to anything? No, I didn't connect it up to anything. So I need to connect this to the rule set I need to connect it to the doc hierarchy where it's actually going to run. And I'm going to run this one at the end of pages in case I have to do some kind of OCR ahead of time or I want to do some kind of setup on a specific field. I'm going to run this at the end. I have to lock it first on pages of type transcription main. I could do this to trailing as well, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to test this on the main pages. Publish that rule set. and go back and test it again in Profiler. Okay, it's done. I'm going to keep running. I'm going to go back and check that XML file. Again, now this is what's nice about using Notepad++. I'll just say, hey, it changed. Do you want to reload it? Yes, the layout changed. Do you want to reload that? And I'll simply scroll down and see that Alchemy stuff is not there. But it did get some people. So this is the big insights system T that got the data, but the Alchemy didn't run. So let's go look at that R analyze or F analyze. And there it is. Here's the extract text Alchemy language that we had there. See what it says here. So it did return false, so that failed. And the application says decrypt key from the application advanced. Looking for values 80. Did I typo that key? I probably did. Alchemy API key. Because it's set to blank. Or maybe I didn't save it. Alchemy ALCHEMY API key. Oh, I know what happened. When you run Datacap Studio the first time, it loads that file and caches it. So I actually have to, in order to get that API key to load, I actually have to exit out of Datacap Studio. I'm going to put this batch on hold and come back and grab it in just a second after we restart Datacap Studio. I've done that a bunch of times, should have remembered. Put it on hold, exit out of Datacap Studio, restart Datacap Studio, log into my application. There it is. Come back to the test tab. Let's try it again. Here's the profile I can pick. It's already got the correct rule, the correct task that it's going to run. Play. Do I run it again? Yes. Doesn't hurt to run them over and over again. Okay, it's done. I'll say keep running. I'll just go back and check my files again. There's the log. There's the layout. Fastest way is just look at the layout file and see if it got a bunch of data. So it did actually work this time. I've got tons and tons of data here. This is what's really cool about this Alchemy. I've got my doc sentiment. It's a negative sentiment, but not very negative. Entities. I've got a health condition of neck pain, lots of neck pain health conditions over and over and over again, so those can be counted. I've got another health condition called headaches. I've got cervicalgia, it's just neck pain, more neck pain. Organization was a rescue squad. Another facility, Thomas Memorial Hospital. So this just comes back with tons of vehicular trauma history, tons of information about what's going on in this and the emotions in this. This is more oriented towards things like correspondence. When someone writes you a letter, you can actually see if they're angry or not. So this one's right down the middle, so it's not either way, it's just a report. But that document emotions is really interesting. And that's all we had to do really to get the data right out of Alchemy API in order to do that. Alchemy is going to go through a rename we just learned about a day or two ago. It's still going to be around for a while, but they're going to rebrand it and add some more capabilities around, just more branded more towards natural language processing. But we can still use it for our demos and for our systems as well until that branding occurs. But that's coming up. One more thing is, how do I get data out of the fields themselves? How do I take this? Did I find the name on here? I did, right? And I found a date. Find name. It's going to be on everything. Let's go back to where it first started. That's where the name would be on the beginning. Yeah, we found the first name, the person's name, Lance Enterprise. I'm going to figure out how to get that into a field. And I think there's a date on here as well, but maybe not. Maybe we didn't get the date out. Word date. Okay, well, didn't find the date. I just go look at the document to see if it's there. But let's get the name out, and that'll make more sense. Or then you'll be able to get the date out too when you find that as well. Okay, so we're going to get this person, and their name. So this is actually really simple. I'm going to run Datacap Studio, my role manager. I'm going to create one more rule set here for populating the data with Insight. Populate with Insight. These are where we add our fields. Remember, we have a field here on this transcript main page called patient name. And I'm going to say, I'm going to create a rule here for name of the other place. R populate and F that is, I'm going to go to my actions again, which is document analytics, and there's another action here right below that for digging into that XML file, and it is find extracted text, and that goes into the XML file, and there's a bunch of keys here that allow you to find the value within that XML. So these are going to be the target is going to be, I'm going to do this from the field. I'm going to attach this to the field. I want it to be, my target is where I'm going to set the value. My scope is going to be the first. I'm going to take the first name off of this. I assume that's the patient. The doctor as well. So you'd have to create a list or maybe put a couple different ones in there, or look at the documents that are coming in and decide whether you want to try first, last, things like that. Entity, I want an entity, which is what we look at here. It is an entity. See that right there? It's an entity. And then the next thing, the source is going to be the text, and the type, the search field is a type, and it's a person. A bunch of different ways to do this, but that's the main way of getting that out. Now I've got to attach that to, I'll run this at the start of fields of type patient name. And that's where I'm going to get the patient name. If doctor name was further down, or I had some way of looking up doctor names, I could find the extracted text compared to a lot of doctor names, and if find which one it was. There's a bunch of different ways you could do this. I could look up my patient names. If I have multiple names on here, keep trying all the names, the first, second, third, whatever, until I got to the right one. I could do that as well. But in this case, I'm just going to take the first because I kind of know for this demo that's what it's going to be. But there's patient name. I'm going to save it. I'm going to publish that rule set. And then what I forgot before, remember, is I didn't put it in my profiler. I'm going to attach this rule to my profiler, move this up to right after I did the analyze layout, and run that. Now, go back to profiler, say run. So the same batch, I'm going to say, yes, I want to run it again. I'll say keep running. I'm going to dig into my document here, and the patient name did not show up. So why did it not show up? We'll go look at that log again. Look for populate name. There it is. First, type, entity, extract text. Didn't find it. First, entity, text, type, person. So put this here. Look at my actual layout. Oh, yeah, so this one came out different. So actually, I don't know why I was using the other way. So it's actually person, that person. I was looking at it for, so it came back from system T, so that's fine. So I'll get it from there. And if that was blank, I could run another rule that did the one that I just did. I could add just that a second time if it doesn't work the first. Go back to Datacap Studio, choose my populate name, and this is going to be at F, the first, and there's an entity. Now I'm going to get person.person. Person, and source is person. That's this value down here. Don't think the rest of them matter because it's going to go straight to that field. Let's try that one this time. Save that and publish the rule set. You have to dig into that rule. It's got a lot going on with it, but it's pretty handy for digging into that XML and finding actual data. Go back to profiler, run it again. So I say keep running, dig into it, and there's the patient name. So we got Lance Enterprise out of there at that location. So that's how you use Insight Edition to call System T and Alchemy API to get data off. One thing you should be careful of is that free version of Alchemy API has 1,000 instances. This thing will call it multiple times to get all of that text. It'll break it into blocks, and you're gonna run out of those pretty quick in one day. So you'll need a real account in Alchemy API pretty quick. But there it is. There you have the ability to create applications using Datacap Insight Edition. Thanks.